Well, look who's back. It's been about 3 years since I put a new deck study video up, and I'm glad to be back. Probably won't be posting as often as I was in the past, but I will have new content coming, starting with this deck right here, and there's not a better deck to get the series back started with than the Verum Videre deck from King's Wild Project. If you guys know me and have seen my previous videos, you'll know that I'm a big King's Wild Project fan. Jackson Robinson, the designer, is one of my favorite. He is my favorite deck designer. So I'm very excited to start this new series out with this new deck. Well, it's actually not new. It came out a little while ago. And he's done some other things in the past. You know, he started out the new Tally-Ho series as well. And I'll kind of show you guys some of that stuff. I'm actually thinking about doing a classic deck series as well, so I can put some new content up, you know, kind of while I'm getting new decks in. But let's get into this one, and I'll kind of go over some more news and notes at the end of the video. So, like I said, this is the Verum Videre deck. Verum Videre is a Latin phrase that means see the truth. And as you can see, there's some kind of philosophy changes that Jackson's adopted in his card designing, deck making, and life in general that kind of goes along with that, and you'll kind of see it as we go through the deck. So let's look at the box first. First, obviously, is the image. Now, this deck came in a gold and well, it's a white, but it's actually in silver ink, and we'll kind of go through it. But the box is actually, I do believe this is the first deck they put out. It had letter pressing on the box, and it's you know, the back design you can see there on the back as well. It's a fairly, you know, I don't want to say plain box, but it just has the wording on the side. The bottom's got add copy, and we'll get into that biblical passage in a second, Theologians 4:11. And you've got the website on there. You can go there and check out. This deck is for sale right now on the website. The gold edition was a more limited time. It is sold out. You may find other avenues to pick that up, but we won't go into that. At the top, you can see just the regular seal with, again, the Latin phrase on there, and the seal that kind of wraps around. Now, the gold edition, the limited edition's got a longer red kind of decorative seal on it, you know, because they were more limited quantity. This one only had 900 decks made. You can see the King's Wild Project on the bottom there as well. So that's the basic is the box. And again, these were all handmade. And again, the first deck that he's got, or at least for the tuck case, that they made in-house, and they hand assembled every deck, putting a more personal touch on it. And again, the first one to have the letter pressing on it. So there's that. Now let's take a look at the cards themselves. Probably have them a little jumbled up in here because I was playing with it earlier, but you can see this is a silverback version. And one of these, there's the double backer, so you can see the gold version. I kind of like the gold better. In light, the silver doesn't quite stand out as well as the gold, but you get that one double back that's got the both sides. So the gold version actually has this on all the back designs, and you get that double with that deck as well. You can just kind of see. Pretty nice, but again, in light, kind of hard to see the back design. Let's get into that a little bit. Don't want to go too in depth in the back design. I want to try to keep this video as short as possible with everything else kind of going on I talked about at the beginning. But there is some kind of Masonic symbology here. Obviously, the all-seeing eye, and the actual graphic on the inside of there, the eye is actually the eye from Benjamin Franklin from the $100 bill. I'm like 99.9%, you know, positive that's what that is. Haven't seen it in any other videos or anybody mention it, but I'm, like I said, well, I'm 100% sure that's what it is, because that's just what it is. Now you can see the kind of circle back design. Kind of reminds me of the Tally-Hos that he put out, or he's been putting out, like I mentioned before. He's kind of got that circle back design on it from You know, this was the King's Wild tally hose that he put out, you know, a couple years ago. Actually, well, longer than that now, because I already did a deck study on those with it quite some time ago. So he's kind of kept with that theme with this deck. He's also got the Flywheels deck that he's put out since then. It's got the circle back design on it, which is a borderless deck. As you can see on the back design here, it's you know, pretty thin size, you know, normal border. And as far as the cards I just kind of flashed in there, you get 2 regular jokers, 1 gold and 1 silver. So not matching jokers, which we like to see sometimes, but pretty cool. And you can see that just that same circle design with the all-seeing triangle eye in there. And those are those. You also get a. Oh, no, start from the other side here. This is just a card that came with the gold edition actually on the box. Let me show you that real quick. This part of the box is actually cut out. There's a hole there, and this card slips underneath it, so you can kind of see this image from the outside of the box. The regular silver edition just has this closed in the graphic over it. And on the back was that Bible verse that I mentioned, 1 Theologians 4:11, and I'm not going to read it. You can see it there, and I'll leave it up there for a few seconds while we talk about it. But basically what this is referring to is a new life and business model that Jackson is doing with his cards. Like I mentioned before, he wanted to put more of a personal touch into everything. And it was his goal to be a little more self-sufficient, personal touch. So I'm doing that with all his new decks, and just to give it more of a personal feel, which I think is really cool. So they're actually touching every deck before they go into the box, which is kind of neat. And as you can see here, kind of moving on, there's your Ace of Spades, which again, you can see the nice big pip there for the spade. Signed by Jackson Robinson on the bottom, King's Wild Project there, made in the USA. And again, the all-seeing Ben Franklin eye right there in the middle. And as you can see, he's gone back to and in the last few decks he's put out, he's gone back into the serif font. He was using a non-serif font, I do believe, from his older decks. Yeah, you can see, let me just give you an example here of the Ace, if I can find it. Yeah, there we go. So the thick non-serif font from the old Ace. This is his Ace from the tally-ho, his first tally-ho deck he came out. So it's quite, you know, different. It's a little more thin with the serifs on it. So a little bit different from these tally-hos. But the other tally-ho decks he's come out with have this new font put in there. And the other big difference in these, the numbers are a little more decorative. And the other big difference, which I'm not a huge fan of, is the non-red pips. The diamonds and the hearts are actually this gold, which you can see there, and you can see the, you know, he's known for his decorative court cards. That's kind of his calling card. But getting back into this gold, I mean, it looks pretty sharp. I'm not a huge fan of the off-colored suits, but you know, every deck's not going to have everything you like. Well, some will, some won't, I guess. But you can see just the absolute detail that goes into his court cards. Now, the cards that I've seen from him in the past have the non-borders, which I absolutely love. And for example, let me go back to those other tally-hos. Here, I'll just pull out this one. You can see they're kind of the same design, but there's no border around it. And these actually have the border. Actually, have the jack here. It's not the same jack. Let me see if I can find the diamond just to have a compare and contrast. As you can see, it's the same jack. There's the small, thin border on this one. And then obviously it's just kind of with the gold and black design, with again that more decorative font, which I like. Again, his court cards are always big and bold. which I absolutely love. I love all his court cards. You know, I'd like these a little bit better if, you know, there wasn't the border on there, and you can see even right there, it actually, the border cuts into the top of the hat, which you know, is, you know, not a huge issue, but you know, it's noticeable as far as design concepts go. So they're very nice, very decorative. As I see, let me show you the black ones. You can see the club design here again. I really like this club as far as clubs go, pip designing goes. Better than the your standard club. I like the more thinner, and then the foot on the bottom of it, a little more thinner as well. I love these clubs. He's done this in the last few decks as well. And as far as the club design goes, you know, in his other deck, again, it's more of a thicker, more bolder club. You can see there, it's just kind of, you know, I don't want to say blobby, but it's got a little blobby into it. I like this. It's much more classy, and it doesn't take up as much room, I guess. But it creates a little more white space and negative space in the card, so I like that a lot as far as that goes. Now, as far as the cards go, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time anymore kind of going as far as how the deck feels, how it performs. You know, every deck I look at is going to be pretty good. What I can tell you is he did switch back to the United States Playing Card Company. Some of his older decks were printed from the Expert Playing Card Company. So it's quality stock. It's the same card stock used in the it's casino stock from the old Bs, so it's B stock, casino stock, so it's high quality. There's 5 metallic inks used in the colors, so overall it's a really nice deck. Wasn't quite, you know, I was kind of hoping for a little more, but I have the standard for them so high. You know, it didn't quite live up to the crazy expectations I had for it, but it's a really nice deck that you guys should definitely check out and take a look at. Now, as far as kind of the other things I wanted to go over today, I wanted to show you some of the other things that I had here. So he's put out, as far as King's Wild Project goes, I showed you the other tally-hos. He's continuing the series. He started with obviously the first one, which was the original redo of the tally-hos, which is this one, which I just kind of showed you some schematics of. But he also did a Scarlet, which I don't have. He also did the Emerald, which I absolutely love. This might be my favorite out of the series so far. The Pearl has just come out, and he's got an Olive that he's doing right now that's on Kickstarter that you guys can go sign up for if you want to be a part of that. But I don't want to actually do deck studies on these to go in depth on them all, because they're all fairly the same. This was my limited edition. You can see the kind of the numbered seal on there, which is pretty cool. Because they're fairly, you know, they're the same, other than some color changes. But just to kind of give you an idea on what they look like, real quick. I'll take these both out. You know, so they're pretty similar as far as the backs go. Now the borders on these are a little thinner than the Verum deck we just looked at. But I mean, as far as the designs go, it's pretty much got the same Ace of Spades, and the pips, like I said, you can see the numbers are the same, and just like with the other decks, it's got the off-colored, whatever color deck he's using, he uses that for the red pips, the off-colored pips, not the black ones. And you can see that club design there on these as well. You can see the non-border, but just look at the design work. I mean, it's just amazing. Just amazing artwork. That's why he's my favorite. I mean, these are so decorative. I love them. You're going to see the hearts there, and the non-borders. Again, probably my favorite aspect of the cards when I first saw him is what kind of drew me to the decks that he does. But just amazing. So there's the Emerald version, and the Pearl version. Again, it's, you know, kind of similar. Same Joker, except it says Pearl there, and so I'll turn that around, sorry. They're the two Jokers, by the way. the ace there again. The black pips are the same, and these kind of have a, not a pearl color for the reds, but kind of a very muted, soft red kind of colored. And again, the you can see the court cards are the same, just different color schemes. So didn't want to go in depth on both those decks every time they came out double back, but I did want to show them to you since I did get them between my last deck study oh so long ago and this one. So again, I'm very glad to be back. Guys, drop me some comments and tell me how much you missed me. I'd appreciate it. Again, I'm going to try to get, I'm going to be putting some actually Magic videos up as well. I'm doing a John Bannon series right now that I'm working on, as well as the deck studies. And again, I'm probably going to start doing some classic decks as well, because I have a lot of decks in my collection that I just never got to. I got busy getting new ones in and I never went back to kind of show you, you know, where all this came from and where it all started. So I got a lot of David Blaine decks. I got a lot of Dan and Dave decks I haven't got to. So that's kind of where we are. And again, I'm very happy. I'm stoked to be back. You know, give me a subscribe, a like, and let me know what you think of the channel. Go back and watch some of the previous videos if you're interested in these more kind of in-depth looks. I really appreciate the feedback, even if it's foul feedback. It's never a bad thing either. Some of my videos have gotten tore up pretty good as far as the length, and yes, I do like hearing myself talk, so that's probably why I go on and on, but that's beside the point. So alright guys, we'll give that deck a look. Again, it's available on kingswildproject.com. I'll put a link in the description and you can shoot right to it, check it out. So again, very good to be back, and we'll see you out there.